Coming up on Tech News Today, apparently Opera users aren't so smart. Or maybe they are. There's some confusion around that, but there's fraud. Also, a BlackBerry avalanche of phones, and Android is muy mal. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, August 3rd, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Gazelle, the easy way to sell or recycle the used gadgets lying around your home or office. Don't just sell it, Gazelle it. For a 5% bonus payment for your used gadgets, go to Gazelle.com, bonus code TWiT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar, somewhere over here.
He is still running the board. Jason Howell out all week. We will have Iyaz behind the board today, tomorrow, and then on Friday, it'll be Alex Gumpel behind the board.
Friday's going to be a real wild card of a day.
It is going to. It's going to be fun.
I'll be remote. Iyaz will be gone. Jason will be out. You'll be here though.
But we have some guests helping us out today. Joining us from The Verge, which is what thisismynext.com is going to morph into sometime this fall. Joanna Stern, good to have you back on the show, Joanna.
Thank you. Thank you for that very nice introduction.
I'm very excited about The Verge.
You went into The Verge. It was perfect.
I try to hit all the bullet points. And I know that the only way you would be agreeable to coming on the show again is if we also had on Mark Turpin, a.k.a. the Terpster. Welcome, Mark Turpin.
Hello.
Mark, I had no idea that you were the webmaster for TomMerritt.com.
Well, it started out
like
as
I knew
just
you
a
really well.
kind of like a fan project sort
You're
of thing.
not really
I'm
doing
a
a very
big
good
Tom
job.
Merritt
It's
fan.
down right
so
now.
I tried to keep up, but it, obviously after a while with such a huge kind of franchise and intellectual property like Tom Merritt, it grew into a sort of a kind of a business, a community, and there's about 18 of us now, and we all work round the clock. Mostly just designers. If you go to the site, you see
exponential growth.
It's a lot of conceptual design on there. Very Web 3.0. You probably haven't heard of that yet. But yeah, no, it's good. Keeps me busy.
Terpster will not say anything he means through the entire show if you've never seen him on the show before. But you can.
That's why I like to be on.
Or do I?
Or does he?
Oh. He always makes me look pretty good.
That's why you wanted to be.
No.
I thought it was because he was fun.
It's because he's fun and the banter's good, and I don't really have to say that much.
Let's start off with a correction for the entire internet. We were among the chumps who fell for the Aptaquant story about IQ tests being put out in browsers, and we were one of the few who took the angle that Opera users are the smartest.
Right.
While everyone else took it as, IE users are dumb.
Well, and I think that enough of the IE users were like, wait a second, let's look at this data. Something's a mess.
No, they didn't. None of the IE users can actually see any of the websites which were saying this. That's why they were saying it. Everyone just said, you should try upgrading your browser. You know, they were fine.
The IE6 users can, or IE7.
I don't keep track of numbers like that, you know.
IE9 is pretty good. I'm just going to say it. So,
in a blog
these
today,
stats were really off, is what I'm saying.
Right. These stats are just made up. In a blog today on the company's website, the perpetrator of the scam admitted the whole thing, said there's no company called Aptaquant. No such survey was ever done. This was all meant to be a lighthearted joke that nobody got. Nobody checked in.
But they stole pictures and like personnel profiles from another firm in the UK. So, I mean, it was designed to seem pretty real.
This is what everyone says when they don't like the result of a survey. They say, well, who took this survey? Where's this come from? What do they know? But this time, you didn't hear that. And this time it turned out to be the time that the survey was totally made up.
So it was a bogus survey. We sat here and went, well, isn't that interesting? Opera browser users, could they really be the smartest? There's fewer of them than IE users, for example. So maybe it's just a matter of
a friend who actually said that he's a psychologist who actually said the study looked decent.
Yeah. Is he an Opera user?
Is he a real
I think the
friend?
problem is that, especially within the tech industry, there is a big kind of snobbery around using Internet Explorer. It's seen as outdated. You're not really with it. It's not a very trendy browser. And then you look at all of the browsers have certain kind of stereotypes associated with them. And Opera is a little bit nerdy, a little bit geeky. You think, yeah, they're probably quite intelligent. They like it because the efficient coding in there somewhere else. I don't know. And so it kind of fell into stereotypes, and that kind of worked. I think if they flipped the results around and said Internet Explorer users were actually more intelligent than others, then people would have been like, what? No, that goes against the grain. And then it would have been maybe called out earlier.
So it's pretty obvious, is what you're saying.
Is that what you're saying, Terpster?
Well, yeah. Well, no, I think it was believable, and I think that's why people went for it. And it was also fun and kind of sensational, and I kind of like my news fun and sensational. So I read it and was like, I use Chrome. What does it say about Chrome? Oh, we're not bad. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll dig that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kicking myself for not asking the question I normally ask, which is, who is this? If I haven't heard of them before, if it's Nielsen or somebody, then I'm like, okay, and and it's a and it's coming from Nielsen, then that's fine. I skipped the step of looking up AptaQuant to see who they were.
Well, you weren't the only one.
I was in good company.
Yeah.
New York Times.
Too busy
Wall Street
laughing
Journal.
at the Internet Explorers.
No, I wasn't. I will say that I was cheering for the smart Opera users,
That's right.
who apparently are not so smart.
No.
Well, actually, we just don't
But they
know.
might be,
They
but
very well
it's
may be
just-
smarter.
Right. There just wasn't a survey taken.
McAfee's out trying to grab some headlines by revealing Operation Shady Rat. Remote access tools are actually legitimate system administration tools.
And that's the acronym, right?
And that's where the rat comes from. McAfee put up a posting
I was hoping
saying
it was real rats.
they have uncovered a 5-year attack of rats hacking into computers. No,
Devious vermin.
they've uncovered a 5-year attack covering 72 organizations and governments, including the U.S., Canada, South Korea, India, the IOC, the UN. McAfee says they think the attacker was a state actor, but didn't name a country, which makes people think, well, obviously it must be China, since they're not naming it. That's why everybody always leaps to that conclusion. We don't know that it's China. The attacks were carried out via email, typical spear phishing. And Dmitry Alperovich, who wrote the blog of McAfee's VP of Threat Research, says that several petabytes of info were taken. Now, when you saw this story, what was your first reaction, Joanna? What did you think?
My first reaction when I hear all of these stories is just like, the internet is so scary. It's just like on a personal level, I just get really scared.
Right.
That's always my
It's
reaction.
frightening out there. What about you, Terpster? What was your reaction?
Well, I just thought it was probably the worst ever code name for an operation, really. Shady Rat. That's not,
You criticize McAfee. I got it.
Yeah, actually, I take that back. My reaction was I thought about this Hoarders episode I saw over the weekend, which was this guy who was literally, he had 3,000 rats in his house.
He actually
And you
has
thought,
shade.
and they
Yeah.
were
And
organized.
I thought, you know what?
A little bit
This
shady.
story is even more scary than that guy.
Iyaz, what was your reaction?
Well, I like the name.
Okay.
This whole shady rat thing. But China, right? Like, let's assume a government actually goes after, I don't know, everything. If this is the case, doesn't the FBI, CIA, and pretty much every agency that gathers intelligence probably already do this? That's what I thought.
I think so. Sarah?
Well, my first reaction was, boy, a lot of those petabytes are probably a lot of useless information. And I still believe that. But then I started to think, okay, I know China's been implicated, but a state actor, whoever it may be, if they're really going through the nuts and bolts of a lot of corporations worldwide, but a majority of them are in the U.S., 49 of them, I think, then imagine what information you could get out of the way a company works, some of their trade secrets, the way that they set up their infrastructure, stuff that could be emulated by another corporation who's trying to gain an economic foothold. So in that sense, that is really scary. I don't know how much it's scaring me, but as a corporation, that could be really scary.
My first reaction when I saw it was like, well, this is interesting. What did they uncover? How is this different? We've heard of remote access tools being used before. They were used in now I'm blanking on the company that had the RSA. the RSA hack earlier this year. So what is new about this? What is interesting? And before I had a chance to actually dig into this and find out, like, okay, I gotta have Operation Shady Rat understanding. I want to know what the nuts and bolts are, the story behind the story here. I actually had to fill in on Security Now with Steve Gibson, and so I was excited. I was like, okay, I'm going to ask Steve Gibson. He's going to explain what's behind Operation Shady Rat. What does this mean? First thing Steve says to me is he's like, oh, we're not even covering that. He's like, this happens all the time. This is like saying water is wet. Yeah. There's people out there doing spear phishing, and they're using remote access tools, and there's governments doing cyber espionage. He's like, there's nothing new here. This is just McAfee trying to get headlines.
Right. And so you put it as the second, you heard that, and then you put it as the second story of the day on your show.
I did, because it's getting so many, it's getting so much coverage. I wanted a chance to look at that and just be like, okay, you know what? We all had these reactions when we see these headlines. We're like, oh, Operation Shady Rat. That sounds weird. That sounds scary. Totally legitimate
shady
reactions. But the fact of the matter is,
Shady Rats.
that sounds very rat-like.
Could have been a rat king. You know, has someone seen one finally? Have we found a rat king? You know, there's so many.
Rats of Nim.
Now,
I'm thinking rats.
Crazy.
I'm not saying that there isn't anything to the story, because obviously they think they've found a single actor who's capable of widespread attacks, and that is a significant thing. But to security researchers, they're like, well, yeah, we've known that for a long time.
People are clicking on fake emails.
Yeah, and spear phishing certainly old. So let's move on.
I have to say, I think that whole bit there was my favorite segment you've ever done on the show. Because you basically we build up this whole story, we think it's going to be really important, and then you just tell us, like, well, you know, your reactions were just sort of wrong.
Well, and my own as well, because it was Steve Gibson who did it to me, because I was all excited to talk about it, and then Steve's like, yeah, it's not a story.
I'm not coming back on the show again.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard about this, Steve.
You know, I'm going on Steve
We've
Gibson.
uncovered a shady rat.
Yeah,
I don't know
you should
if
go on Security Now.
Yeah.
I would be the worst guest on Security Now. But I am very excited about the next story, actually. So.
All right, yes, let's get,
Clumsy mouse.
let's
I'm the only person. Clumsy mouse. I'm the only person actually excited about the clumsy rim. So
Well, it was BlackBerry Fan Night in Toronto.
Yes.
Today, right?
yeah, it is today.
It's BlackBerry Fan Night, and as we hoped, RIM announced new BlackBerry smartphones. All are touchscreens. The Bold 9900 has the more familiar look with the keyboard. Torch 9810 is a slider QWERTY 3.2-inch touchscreen, exclusive to AT&T on HSPA Plus, so it's fast. And uses BlackBerry OS 7, so we're getting a look at some OS 7 phones. Torch 9850 and the 9860 3.7-inch displays, all screen. And the Torch is split into two SKUs. They had 9860 for GSM and the 9850 for CDMA. That's typical for BlackBerry to do that. So why are you excited about these, Joanna?
Well, I was saying this in the pre-call that I'm always trying to, you know, I'm just pushing for RIM. I'm always hoping, like, you know, this is going to be they're going to finally catch up. This is going to be the one time. Do I really think this is going to be the time? Probably not. But I just get excited by some of their movements, and then it's always fun to make fun of them. So, yeah, I think actually, you know, it's interesting. We have all this new hardware, and they're saying this is going to run BlackBerry OS 7, which we still don't know, you know, that much about. They promise a better browser, better speeds, but basically, you know, we're not going to really know much about these phones till we really get a good handle on that.
So in getting these phones, we're not getting a whole lot of details. We're not getting a look at them. We're just getting the specs and pictures.
Right. Yeah. There were some, you know, they were showing them off. But, you know, there haven't been real reviews yet of, you know, OS 7 on some of these touch screens.
We also know sometime in September, no pricing yet. So it's an early look.
Is there anything in these phones to get excited about that's a significant advance, either just for BlackBerry users or for smartphone users in general?
So, I mean, I think, you know, this is the constant issue for like real fans of BlackBerry, right? Real RIM fans who don't want to give up their BlackBerry. They are like constantly living in the past, right? And I wrote an editorial like, one of the last things I wrote in Engadget, it was probably around like 6 or 7 months ago, saying like I was giving up my BlackBerry because I was living in the past. So I think, this update could sort of tide over those users till maybe one day BlackBerry is going to give them, a real app ecosystem and everything that's going to come forward with what they're saying in the next the operating system after this, which is supposed to be, based on some of the stuff that the playbook was based on, QNX. But we'll see. I think, this could give some, BlackBerry users like some better browser performance, faster processor inside. So stuff that's basically, can tide them over. But I think it's definitely, RIM is not in a position now where they're getting new users, right? Like you don't really hear many people saying, I'm going to definitely switch from my flip phone or whatever they have, to BlackBerry. It's usually the iPhone or Android devices. So that's where RIM's big issue has been.
So, Joanna, what is it about RIM then that makes you think, after having said all of that, what makes you want them to succeed? Since it doesn't sound like you think they will, is it just because they've got a strong legacy, or I feel sorry for them, or what is it?
No, I grew up loving BlackBerry. I was a BlackBerry user for 6 or 7 years, and the messaging was like the best out there. I still think BlackBerry Messenger is a great system, not even for it is definitely hit the consumer, but even I always wish sort of like a group messaging sort of thing that's like tied to the platform. Apple's trying to do that with iMessage. We'll see if it takes off. I love that idea, and I've always loved the email implementation. They've always had these really core features, and the problem is they haven't been able to bring them into the future. They're still stuck on some of this really legacy stuff. So, I always am hoping maybe I'm going to be able to go back to BlackBerry. Maybe they're going to get the app ecosystem. Maybe they're going to get the hardware that's faster. Maybe the browser is going to be better. All the reasons why I had to leave, I'm always like, this might get better. And every subsequent update doesn't really get better. But I'm always hoping. I'm an optimist, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like for these to really take off, it has to be the operating system that wins people over. They have a nice 3.7-inch display. There's built-in support for NFC on the 9900 series, but there's nothing in the specs here that really blows you away. They're good. They're not disappointing. Don't get me wrong, but there's nothing that's like, wow, nobody's done that before.
Right.
Right. And that's part of the issue, right? But the major issue is the software, and that's where they really need to catch up and really understand what the marketplace is looking like. And and also if you follow the stories, you could almost dedicate hours to talking about the state of RIM right now, because you follow the stories, you follow the earnings, you follow sort of the corporate structure there with the 2 CEOs and how they refuse to give up that dual CEO sort of structure. They just think it works the best. You've got executives leaving right and left every day.
We got 3 COOs now too.
Yeah, right. They've got a COO.
Triarchy.
The COO of operations.
It makes it easier when one of them wants to take a holiday because others can cover them. It's brilliant. Just have vacation whenever you want.
It seems like they're always on, holiday. It's just so it's a sad story to watch, but it's also really interesting to watch some of these companies that were once on top, get back down, and then are they going to be able to rise again, and how are they going to do that? And one of the things they were supposed to talk about, and I think they did talk about early today, this event, is how they're going to start to really adopt the Android app platform and allowing for that to be running on, I don't know if it's how much of their phones, but definitely on the playbook, really talking about how they're going to roll that out. So
I'm looking forward to that as a playbook.
Yeah, they're definitely a company in struggle. You're a playbook owner? Did you just say that?
I am. I did. Those words just came out of my mouth.
Wait, so you bought it?
I did.
Yeah, no, he didn't steal
maybe
it.
You should have spent that money on Merritt.com servers. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why.
I remember you showing me
it served
the
off the
playbook,
playbook.
and it was fantastic. At the time it had no battery power, but it was awe-inspiring.
I saw Terpster in Salt Lake City. I pull out the playbook. I was like, oh yeah, you want to take a look? He's like, oh sure, yeah, I'll play with it. I'm like, oh, battery died. Sorry, forgot the charger.
Brilliant. I was just like, oh, thanks, Tom. Fantastic. Tech man. That's where he's at.
Not the best showing of the BlackBerry playbook. Maybe I'll sell it on Gazelle.
You could probably get a pretty penny for it, because Gazelle has good rates for stuff like that.
Can I ask you, Joanna, a question related to our sponsor for today's show?
Sure. I don't know who your sponsor is.
It's Gazelle.com, where you can sell old gadgets. Do you have a bunch of old BlackBerries that you've got cluttering up that you want to get rid of?
You know, I've got a bunch of old gadgets here. If I could show you, I've got this one.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
I've got
Like a
this
BlackBerry.
one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
These are review units.
Well,
I
you
don't
can't
think
sell
I
the
should
review
them.
units.
But these were
You
mine.
can.
Okay, those are.
I can go
Yeah.
back. I can go back even further here, probably.
If the stuff's actually yours, Gazelle is an easy way to sell or recycle the used gadgets lying around your home or office, and you get a 5% bonus because you're watching Gazelle or you're watching TNT. You can go to their website gazelle.com, and it's very simple. You just put in the identification of the item. You just put in, BlackBerry 9500 or whatever it is. Probably don't do that since that's one of the newer ones. But whatever you've got, look it up. They'll give you a quote, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything except send it to them. They'll even send you a box with a shipping label, or you can just print the label right there and put it in your own box, send it off, and they'll send you a check. You can get paid by cash. You can get paid by Amazon gift certificate. You can get paid by PayPal. And because you're listening to Tech News Today, you get that 5% bonus when you use the offer code TWiT, T-W-I-T. So it's great for making some cash off your old gadgets. It's also good for recycling. If you just have some stuff that they're like, this is too old, we can't give you any money for it, they'll still take it and they'll responsibly recycle it for you.
I have a
See, is that
BlackBerry
where the name's
Pearl
from?
that I've been holding on to for no good reason. I'm probably not going to use it again. I should recycle it on Gazelle.
You have a BlackBerry Pearl.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I checked the BlackBerry Torch 9800, and you can get $163 for it right now if you had one of those.
Do you remember which Pearl it is? I'm gonna assume it's the oldest Pearl, the 8100.
Sure.
Was it pink?
No, it was pearl colored. I thought that was cool. It was
Is
a
it
pearl
functional?
pearl. Yeah, it's functional.
That's
Yeah.
a BlackBerry.
Battery's out.
All right, because that's the thing. You have to put in a little, it's got,
What kind of shape
moderate
is it
wear,
in? Yeah, no, it's
normal wear and
in
tear.
beautiful shape.
You have the original cables, all that stuff.
Of course,
Wow.
somewhere.
Free of water damage.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've
All right.
done
You
that to
sure?
my
These
Pearl.
guys-
You like to
Getting their money's
wash
worth.
your headphones, don't you? So you sure the phone
Well,
hasn't
that's
been in
different,
there
Terpster, because the headphones work when they come out of the dryer and they're fluffy and great.
You can get
That's
They
fine.
smell so good.
They
can
do.
get
Smell
$3.
amazing.
You get
always
$3.
look
Okay, so this is a very good example. Instead of the $3, I'd probably just recycle it. But I can, you're being responsible because you're not throwing it in the garbage, which is then going to go into landfill where your battery's going to leach out everywhere, and then you end up being a bad person and can't sleep at night.
Yeah. So there you go. You can get the $3 and have them recycle it.
I guess that's true.
Actually, that's reuse. If they're giving you anything, that means
Is
they
that
could sell
with
it somewhere.
The TWiT code, or do you get 5% on top of
No,
$3?
that was without. You're right.
Oh, hello.
See?
Here we go. Now we're making money.
You get $3.15. And that's the oldest one. That's the BlackBerry Pearl 8100. I don't know. You might have a newer one. Might get you something more. Check them out. Gazelle.com. Use the offer code TWiT. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today and all the TWiT shows. App Advice has been told, and they say we're able to confirm independently, that Apple is on the edge of launching a full-fledged re-downloading service called iTunes Replay. Feature would give users access to movies they bought as far back as January 1st, 2009. iTunes Replay is currently being used internally and is planned to be kept when Apple makes this public. We buy this? Is a good rumor?
Well,
Sounds like iCloud.
It's actually a rumor that has been told before. I mean, this is something. A couple of years ago, there was a rumor along these lines, but it seems like, with what we've seen as far as the way that iCloud is going, that it finally makes sense.
And it will be TV shows and movies, not just movies.
Right.
Not all the shows would get the same treatment. According to the Ars Technica story on this, some shows would not be available on Replay, and some would. That lends it an air of credence, because that's the way it usually works. Is not everybody wants to license their show for Replay.
Or I think
But that could also be a good guess.
It could.
right.
It absolutely
That
could.
some shows, could be downloaded 5 times, and others unlimited, and others not at all.
These kinds of rumors obviously make you wonder, okay, how good is their source? And then when you see them picked up by other places, you kind of look at those places and go, are those the kind of places that pick up stuff unquestioningly, or have they done a little background research Joanna, do you know anybody who's got any kind of independent confirmation of this, or is this just out there flying like a rumor?
You know, we haven't. This was the first time I saw this story today. I mean, I obviously followed the Apple TV news earlier this week, and I think, you know, based on that and sort of what we saw Apple doing there with iCloud, I think this definitely, you know, to me it makes sense. But that isn't based on any, you know, reliable sources or, you know,
I would like
proven
it to be
tipsters,
yeah.
as we say.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
that's not proven terpsters; it's proven tipsters.
No, very different. Very different.
Does the proven terpster know anything though?
No. iPhone, new one's coming out September 5th. There you go. You heard it here first. I don't know.
You realize it's a holiday in the United States.
That's why they're doing it, because you know, they've just decided.
They want us to have some
do
free
something,
time.
let's have something special on your day off. There you go. iPhones.
Here's
for
a
everyone,
reward for all your
offering it.
labors on Labor Day.
He's a proven terpster, everyone. It's
Yeah,
it's-
that's the problem with a proven terpster. Very unreliable versus a tipster. So that's what you've got
not
the
even
kind
sure
of trade between.
He's proven as a terpster. I'm not sure. Security firm Lookout has issued a report saying if you're running Android, you are 2.5 times more likely to encounter malware today compared to 6 months ago. Mobile users have a 30% likelihood of clicking a malicious link. You could affect that by not clicking a lot of links.
Just any links.
Being very
yeah.
careful. Estimated 500,000 people were
I
affected
mean, I'm an
by-
Android user. I'm clicking links all the time,
But
just
are you-
random ones.
You're just clicking random links. See, you
Yeah,
have a
yeah, that's why I'm
30%
more prone.
likelihood of clicking a malicious link.
I know, and you know, more now than I was 6 months ago.
But that just seems obvious, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah, of course.
well, yeah.
This sort of this data bothers me because it reads as if, oh no, Android is getting more dangerous and less secure. But it's like, actually the Android marketplace is just growing.
Yeah, it's getting more popular is what this means.
So there are more apps that contain malware the way that a lot of other open system, I mean,
and there's more honeypot sites out there to try to...
yeah, that's sort of the way it goes. I mean, when there's not a really rigid approvals process for putting something in the Android marketplace and apps continue to be added to the Android marketplace, this
Now-
is pretty obvious.
Lookout, which issued this report, offers free and fee-based versions of security service for Android.
Of course.
So it's in their best interest to get everybody all freaked out.
Sure.
But I almost feel like this is similar to the McAfee story. Where it's
Yeah,
like-
I'm pretty sure they just also put out a story saying, you know, you shouldn't click on Tom Merritt. There's a lot of malware there too.
definitely don't want to...
That's a lie. That's a lie. You know, we work very hard to keep TomMerritt.com safe and secure for all your Tom Merritt needs. So you can click on it day or night. But
Yeah, really,
not
I
at the
mean-
moment. Servers are down. But when they come back up, you can click on it again. It's going to be great.
What about if you jailbreak your iPhone and you download a bunch of apps that are available to you that way? It's like, what
Well,
kind of
that was your own
malware
fault.
numbers would you find in that situation? We're not even comparing anything. We're just making it seem like Android is really dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, though, to the credit, you know, there's the Android market in the past couple of months has also faced a lot more heat in terms of, you know, approvals and are things, you know, going through the proper security measures. So, like, I can't say, but I could assume that they're sort of piggybacking on that here.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that Android users do need to be more security aware than they may have had to be in the past. If that's
Sure.
You know, they.
I think that's a
yeah.
fair statement.
There's going to be increasingly more of this be smart.
A couple of years ago, there really wasn't much malware out there to worry about. Now there is. It's just.
But you could argue the same thing with like Macs and Mac Defender. You know, I don't know what the statistics were before that malware came up, but obviously if you compare now to then, it's still only kind of one major threat, but the growth is huge. So, you know, I wouldn't know actually in real terms, like Sarah, if Sarah is clicking on all the links and isn't getting any kind of problems, you know, maybe it is still a case like it is with a, you know, with a PC where if you are 90% sure on what you're clicking on, you're probably going to be okay.
All right, let's finish up our discussion with patents for sale. Google and Apple have been joined by Samsung in the bid for InterDigital's 8,800 patents, currently holding patents on mobile tech used to transfer info. So this is a mad scramble, right? They can get more than $5 billion for these patents, according to analysts at Algorithm Capital and Dougherty and Company. Samsung wants them because then they can use them to stop Apple from suing them. Google wants them so they can get everyone to stop suing them in general. And then, of course, Apple wants them so they can continue to go out and sue people with a little bit more impunity. Joanna, this patent system has got to go, doesn't it? Isn't this counterproductive to the whole mobile space?
You know, you're definitely asking the wrong person on my team. Nilay Patel is the patent expert. You know, but yes, I've heard him rant a number of times on some of the the patent structures and people sort of snatching these things up just to have them, and then obviously to have them in their court for when these sorts of things happen. But, I do think it's, I don't follow it as closely as Nilay, but I love reading his stuff because it really just sort of breaks it down so well for the end user and understanding like what this really means for us and what it means in terms of what we actually see in terms of user interface or whatever, these patents happen to be on. But yeah, he definitely has some very strong thoughts on the entire system.
From the end of the consumer, though, do you feel like these battles end up affecting us, or is it all just happening out there in the corporate headquarters, and generally we end up with decent phones and they ship and they don't actually get banned from countries like the threats say they might?
Right. I mean, I think that, and that's one of the things Nilay does really well in terms of explaining certain ones. When we were talking about some of the patent issues that Apple's brought against Samsung in terms of UI design and that sort of thing. I mean, we don't know how that will end up, but that's definitely end user stuff. It's not just sort of corporate. I guess it obviously starts there, but it is end user stuff. Can't say I right now can't think of many things that have affected us as the end user, but of course there's so many things I don't even know. For instance, today I was showing you the Galaxy Tab 10.1 got updated, and I said something like, I don't understand why you can't do this, and he's like, oh, that's probably a patent thing. And I was like, what? And so, that sort of thing doesn't occur to me, but to someone who knows something, better in terms of, why there might have been a patent against that, then, or someone who might have owned the other patent. So, again, I don't know enough about how it ends up affecting us, but it's definitely more and more a really interesting space to watch.
That's a really good point. It may be affecting us more than we realize, because those things that we think, well, these designers are dumb. Why didn't they, put this button over here? They may be avoiding a lawsuit when they do that. Yeah,
it was a tray that I was like, why can't I, put this, I want to put this app here. Why can't I do that? And he said, I bet it has to do with these patents. I was like, oh, well, yeah. Who knew?
All right, it's time to move on to the news fuse. Finding porn on the .xxx domain has been incredibly difficult until today because there weren't any websites. But
really,
the first porn .xxx site at casting...
TomMerritt.xxx.
No, casting.xxx is finally live.
We'll get that. We'll get that one.
We have the screen. We can't show the screenshot of it.
Talk about what you're doing.
But, obviously it's a little unsafe for work. For all you TLD aficionados, there was already a .xxx site, but it was a corporate site, not a porn site. So casting.xxx is your
site
first
went for XXX. Was it the people behind the hit movies XXX? Who wanted
should have been.
It should have been. It should have been like Vin Diesel starring
Unfortunately,
in.
no. It was ICM.
Oh, well, that sounds boring.
They make the porn sites, but they only had their, actual official.
Is what
Come
the
work for
F?
us.
Is what the F .xxx free? Because that would be like someone censoring the swear word, which would be quite funny. I quite like that. I shouldn't have said that. Now, if it is free, it's not.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it right now.
ICM, by the way, is the registry for XXX. So, of course, that site was up.
I was thinking talent management because we were talking about casting.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
It's just,
Not that ICM.
it's
different.
could be a lot of meanings.
Totally.
Except this time it's porn. The Black Hat Conference is coming up this week, and IBM is ready to show off a new system for running an open wireless network in secure mode. The plan was created by IBM's ISS X-Force, which sounds
Triple X-Force would have
like a
been
Marvel
better.
comic or something. Yeah, or Triple X-Force. The X-Force system, just
They
one
should get an
X,
X, yeah.
is designed to withstand stuff like man-in-the-middle attacks and sniffing via digital certificates, which is so rude.
And copyright sniffing.
Yeah.
Would be prevented by that. Qualcomm, makers of such Snapdragon chips as the MSM 7627, the APQ 8055, and can forget our favorite, the QSD 8560, has decided to rename their processor lines. Soon, Qualcomm chips for mass-market smartphones will go by the simple moniker S1 for the high-performance chip for smartphones and tablets. For smartphones and tablets, S2. For gaming and multitasking, S3. And these S designations are merely classes. Each class has several variants, and as they add new classes, they'll add numbers. There'll be an S4 and an S5 and an S6. They won't try to reuse the names. So anyway, it's, I guess, less confusing than MSM
QSD 8560.
It's easier to remember, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Doesn't tell you anything more.
Time Warner's looked into its crystal ball, and it can read the future. I didn't know if you knew that Time Warner could do that. And guess what? Tablets are the future of publishing.
Really?
Time announced that it will be introducing all of its magazines on all sorts of platforms. By the end of the year, you're going to be able to get magazines from places like the Android Store, iTunes, and HP. Although, if you were giddy about reading People magazine on your playbook like Tom was, Time's press release made no mention of RIM's tablet, although you could find a workaround with Android Player, I guess. You'll be able to get digital subscriptions as well as buying single issues.
Don't hate
Yeah,
the
if the battery is charged, I will add there on the
Right.
playbook. It does
Good
need battery
point,
power.
Terpster. You will need a battery
Yeah.
that works.
ISPs want to implement all of these data caps, so obviously they have ways to measure how much data is being used, right?
Of course.
Maybe not. AT&T's caps on UVerse and DSL went live on May 1st, but not all of their customers had access to meters. A user at DSL Reports Forum says that he was called by AT&T and was told that UVerse meters may not be accurate in making measurements. But don't panic. That same forum was told that no charges for overages would occur until AT&T hashed this out. So, easier said than done, I guess.
Download a lot now.
You're using way too much data, we think. We really have no way of tracking that.
I need them to know.
If they're going to
They
overcharge
just
me,
guess.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't think
kinda
it's
wanna know.
asking too much that they have a way to track effectively. Earlier this year, a South Korean lawyer sued Apple, you might remember this, was awarded 1 million won, or approximately $945, by a court this past June when it was discovered back in April that the iPhone and some iPad models were secretly tracking users. Now, Apple, of course, blamed a software bug, and then they issued a fix. But that didn't stop the lawsuits. Today, a second fine against Apple was awarded to the Korea Communications Commission in the amount of 3 million won, or approximately $2,800. So
I
it's
prefer
still,
the one amount. It sounds
Yeah,
much
the one
more.
amount sounded so
Yeah.
much more.
3 million.
3 million won. I would
It's,
have been
it's
like,
pennies to Apple.
I
But,
won
Exactly,
$3
it's
million.
nothing. Yeah, I would have liked that. That would have been nice.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Pegatron Technology has landed orders for 10 million units of iPhone 5, which will make it the second biggest original design manufacturer of the smartphone. Shipments are supposed to start in September, say industry sources. Pegatron's gearing up for orders for iPad, MacBook Air, and Apple products, and has increased production equipment and employment.
See,
But they
as
didn't
a
have
as
the-
a vicious supporter of the Autobots, I strictly do not support anything Pegatron does. If you saw what he did to Cybertron, you know, you'd be with me on this as well. Boycott.
So you don't use an
Whatever.
iPhone?
Well, that's different because we use that to. I use the Skype app on there to talk to Optimus Prime, so we kind of have to.
Kind of a
But,
conflict of interest, don't you think?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, Digitimes did not have the exclusive from the proven Terpster that this is going to launch on September 5th.
That's right.
Oh, that does
Ah,
change
there you
things
go.
somewhat. Yeah,
It's the
Yeah.
week
time.
of September.
Think about
5th.
it.
may be
iPhone
the
5,
6th.
September 5.
It could be September the 7th.
Changing
which is my
your now you're
birthday.
oh yeah,
So
you can't either.
it could be that.
The
I
5th
don't
and the
know.
7th. What's the difference, really?
Exactly, a couple of
The word
days.
It's
Week
the
phone.
commencing
same
the 5th.
day, really.
Word phone has 5 letters in it.
Oh, wait.
Ooh,
now this is
iPhone
getting...
5.
But
Oh,
iPhone
what's
has...
This is turning
has
into a
5 and
real
a
Apple
half.
now.
All right, Google Senior Vice President and Legal Chief Officer David Drummond has taken to Google's main blog. And he's pissed. At whom? Microsoft, Apple, and Oracle, of course. About what? Why? Patents, no less. Drummond says Google is battling a hostile, organized campaign against Android by Microsoft, Oracle, Apple, and other companies waged through bogus patents.
Yeah,
Damn.
totally
Listen
bogus.
to this patent stuff all over the place.
It's
Those patents aren't even real.
patently ridiculous.
No.
Bogus.
Except Patton Oswalt, who was Ratatouille. He is
Brilliant.
real. The character isn't. That's a film. It's fictional.
But the guy.
But
Yeah.
the guy, he is. Yes.
Have you heard of Clearwire, Terpster?
No.
It's a company that
No,
uses
what is it?
WiMAX for your fast wireless speeds. And today, Clearwire announced that it is working on an LTE network and will sell access to it wholesale. Not a surprise. Sprint announced that they would be doing wholesale, but the fact that the WiMAX company is working on an LTE network, now that's intriguing. Of course, it's assuming Clearwire can raise the additional funding it needs. Could possibly be the end of WiMAX. Clearwire says it's committed to serving its existing WiMAX customers, but that doesn't mean they won't try to get them to switch to LTE if they rolled out that network.
I think that would be smart for Clearwire. Very interesting.
Let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
We Fit controlled virtual Segway. Did I need to say anything more?
I think it's probably the transportation device that most needed a simulator out there.
Iyaz and I were
We've been
kind
able
of
to
excited
fly
about
planes
this.
and trains and all of that.
But then we watched
Segway
the
has been
video, and it's
neglected.
like...
It was it was the outcome of a marathon modding session held by Stanford University's SVI Hackspace, and a group banded together to create a guided tour of Google Maps Street View, as if you
Can
were on
you
a
drive off a
Segway,
cliff?
but you're actually using the Wii Fit.
See, I would like a tour as if I was in a Ferrari, not on a Segway.
Yes, I'm with you there.
You don't just slightly.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
Woz's dream. I mean, Woz is
Suspension
like,
disbelief isn't as far though, is it, with the Segway? You know, because you're just leaning on a platform, which is basically how it works. So, I think it is safer though than a normal Segway, which is a plus.
yeah.
Waz's dream is just walking out and using his Segway.
He does that every day.
Yeah.
So he's living the dream. I
He's
mean, Woz has always
exactly.
been living the dream, but
I just feel like if you're going to be, going through some sort of a mapped world and you're in no danger of hurting anybody, like in the real world, by going too fast, why do you want to be on a Segway?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be reckless.
What if you're practicing for Segway Polo, like Waz does, and it's raining? He just wants to go on his little Wii.
But you don't want to tour Google Maps.
Sure, he does.
I don't
When
know.
you're practicing for
Maybe
Segway
if you,
Polo?
yeah.
You don't play Segway Polo, do you?
I obviously do not.
I don't
no,
either. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
But this would be cool with
I
like
have
other
got
gaming
the-
devices, like with the PlayStation Move, where you've got two little just hand controllers. You could do like, virtual skiing, and you just, I'm skiing along. And then like with the Kinect, you could just do like a virtual bike, and you just have to pedal your legs around. It could be a whole new format of virtual transportation.
Virtual tourism. Actually, I kind of like that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Take a
Yeah, it's
Segway
kind of-
tour of Milan.
Yeah.
Street
Where did you go
views.
this week? Oh, I just went to Paris. I was riding a bike, as the French do.
I took
Just
a
around
I
Paris.
took a Segway tour of Milan. Oh, that sounds kind of dorky.
Yeah.
That's not the half of it. I wasn't even in Milan.
Same thing.
I was just
Pictures are
leaning on
nice.
my table.
Yeah.
I am just
Drinking
a
wine.
compulsive-
I would do that.
Till I fell off my Wii Fit.
I would do that. I would enjoy it.
Let's move on to the calendar.
Let's, shall we? Best Buy is giving out a free Nexus S today. Do you want one? Well, you can have it for free, although you do need to buy a 2-year contract. This is with AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint, no Verizon, unfortunately. Joanna mentioned earlier, Samsung has detailed the TouchWiz UX update for the Galaxy Tab 10.1. Over-the-air update rolls out to the public on August 5th.
Now, was this kind of mean for them to do this, Joanna, where they okay, we're going to roll out this update. You have to show up if you're in New York, and we'll get it now. Otherwise, you have to wait 2 days.
Yeah, from the start. And actually they've been doing this thing in New York where they like sort of want to build the lines in New York. Like it's a little odd. They only started selling the Galaxy Tab 10.1. It was like a New York Best Buy exclusive, and then they did this today. But I was there this morning. I went uptown and I got my Galaxy Tab updated, and I wrote that post. But did see a couple of people going in with their tablets, so maybe it's working for them.
Was there a lot of press coverage of the lines to get in for the TouchWiz update, though? I mean, that seems to be what they're going for.
I think the extent of the press coverage is the last few sentences I just said about the lines.
Gotcha. Not working out for
I
them.
don't think
People
so.
from the press went.
Yes,
I love
and they
that, 'cause
noticed the
this is
line.
so social media. This is brilliant. Put this in my report. Social media, great.
Finally,
What
Toshiba's.
social media report do you have there on your?
Oh, just I got loads of stuff. I can't show you. It's out of camera. but,
TomMerritt.com.
Yeah. So go there. Go to TomMerritt.com. Not all at once though. Servers are delicate at the moment.
I'm gonna have to
a lot of
reboot
traffic.
again.
And finally, Toshiba's Cosmeo F755 is going to deliver one of those glasses-free 3D experiences on August 16th basically for free for $16.99, as in
basically for free.
$1,600.
This is the one that we saw at CES? Is that right, Joanna?
It is, well, it is, but it isn't. They cut the prototype. It's no longer a prototype.
Right.
It's definitely slimmer. They fit it into a regular form factor, and it's much better. The quality is much better. A few drawbacks. You can't actually game with it, like
which seems madness to me.
Yeah. This must really make you pretty riled up over there.
Well, I just think it's silly to do a 3D laptop, and you think, like, oh, brilliant, what can I do 3D? Well, there's so many 3D games now, and it's like, it doesn't do those.
Oh, it doesn't.
3D movies, and you're like, yeah, but it's like it's a laptop. If I'm going to watch a 3D film,
I put
I
that
want
in
it
the
big.
headline. It seems, it seems like sort of a work in progress still with that 3D stuff, but other than that, it's a pretty good laptop for the price. But I totally agree, the gaming stuff is a little bit like, couldn't they have gotten that ready for the launch?
On to the emails. Craig in Boulder, Colorado says, hey guys, love the show. In episode 297, you talked about how Shifty Jelly was less than pleased at their treatment from the Amazon App Store. They complained that after Pocket Cast was featured as the free app of the day, they stopped getting downloaded after the free period. I hate to say this about a program, but it was barely functional as a podcasting app. It was beautiful, but it had so many little problems that would drive someone crazy if they consumed a lot of podcasts, which any Twit lover probably does. I think that had more to do with this fact that they stopped getting downloaded. In All About Android a couple weeks ago, they had the developer of Field Runner 3D on, and they talked about how Amazon was the only way to put an app out for free for a while and then later charge, as Google makes developers lock in a price on apps when they go in the market. There have been multitude of times where the free app I downloaded was great, and I told people who later bought it, so I think the system is solid, and this was just a scream for publicity on Shifty Jelly's part.
Well, the app might not have worked well. I haven't used it, so I wouldn't know. But that wasn't their argument was still valid if they thought that they were going to get 20% of whatever was sold on free app day, and they didn't.
Yeah, but they agreed not to. That was Amazon said, we'll feature as a free app if you waive your 20%. So they knew that going in.
That's true.
20% of nothing's still nothing, though, so they could have kept it.
They should have.
Exactly. I mean, they still have an argument to be made, I guess, that they had to put more money into
because of the server upgrade.
Their company because of the server upgrade.
Right.
But yeah, I guess that accounts for not that many.
How dare you,
being
Amazon,
bought.
give them all that exposure? How dare you? Oh,
yeah, they're mad.
This is unbelievable.
Rotten to the core, that Amazon. Next email from Alan Huffman. New concern with buying Mac OS X via the Mac App Store. In the past, I would buy a Mac OS X upgrade for my computer. When I bought my next new computer that already came with the new version, I'd sell my old computer and include the Mac OS X upgrade disc. But today, if I upgrade my computer to Lion via the Mac App Store, then later buy a new machine that comes with Lion, I can't very well give away that copy of Lion when I sell my old computer, can I? The Mac App Store software is tied to me now, so even if I sell the old computer, I can't transfer rights to the copy of Lion I bought for it. Have you heard of a way to transfer rights to digital goods, not counting virtual shovels or whatever's in those silly Facebook games?
That's an interesting point. I think once you install OS X Lion, it is no longer tied to the App Store. It's not like it stops working if you don't authenticate.
I've been trying to figure this out since, I haven't really done that much research, but I asked a few of my colleagues, and they don't remember if they had to re-log back into the Mac Store after installing.
I did not.
So
I did
you
not.
didn't?
I did not have to relog into the Mac App Store after installing. Now, that doesn't mean it didn't pull it out of the keychain and do a little authentication in the background that I didn't notice. But usually, and the reason I'm feeling 75% confident that this would work is OS X traditionally has had no DRM on it. And you can put it on 5 machines as
That's true.
As it
like
is.
you could always use that. They could always use that disk, and it'd be fine.
Exactly. So the key is, how do I wipe all my data and make sure that I got all my apps and everything off before I sell it, and keep Lion on.
But you can do that because you can create a bootable disk or a USB from Lion and just hold down the Option key and install a fresh version of Lion.
Right, and there's a...
You'd have to wipe the rest of your system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to do that to a USB drive, use Derek's boot and nuke to wipe out everything off your hard drive so, you know, only like really advanced CIA agents could possibly recover anything, then reinstall Lion, sell the thing.
And just try not to sell it to a CIA agent. But you'll
or
never
anyone
really
who
know.
can hack it. China with shady rats is also something to look out for. If you see a rat and you're thinking they don't look very trustworthy, I'd even go as far to say they look a bit shady, then don't sell it to any rodents in general.
Just give it to gazelle.com. Did you guys not learn anything?
Please, thank you, Joanna, for talking sense.
I feel like we're really being hard on the rats.
I mean, I didn't even get paid by these advertisers, and I know gazelle.com is the answer.
now you should.
Thanks, Joanna.
I know.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's echoing what I learned from The Lion King about antelopes, because they're kind of like gazelles, and like the grass, we eat the antelopes. When we die, we become grass. I don't know, and then the antelopes eat the grass. And I feel like gazelle with the recycling, there's something in there that I think maybe Disney had a patent on gazelles and antelopes, and that's why they had to call it gazelle.
And then there's the shady rats, which make the circle of life.
Right.
Exactly. They do. I don't know what they do. I don't really want to know what they do.
It's
what they do
kind
is
of
their
like
business.
the way we use Reddit to feed stories into our lineup.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the circle of life.
Hakuna Matata.
Someone goes to technewstoday.reddit.com, somebody like FJA or Steven4444 or Tony W or Steven3X or Bump Knuckle, and then they submit a story, and then people vote it up, and then it gets into the lineup, and then we talk about it. And then
it's the circle of news.
And then it sinks out, and people vote it down.
Can't tell if exclusive or made up. That's all you know with Reddit.
Yeah. Exactly. So check it out. TechNewsToday.reddit.com. Join our Redditors.
This is a great end to the show, I really have to say.
It's sputtering out in an elegant and beautiful chaos. Also by Bricks, bricks.twit.tv. Hey, Joanna, thank you so much for being back on the show. It's great.
Thank you for having me,
back.
and thank you for getting Terpster. Thank you for having him commit to this time slot.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, he had to stay up. He had to stay up late for you.
Way past my bedtime. If any of you tell my mum, I'm going to be furious. Well, she'll be furious, but then I'll be furious with you for telling, oh, God, don't even go there.
Joanna Stern writes for thisismynext.com, which soon will become theverge.com. So go to theverge.com and sign up so you get the alert. And Mark, the Terpster Turpin, is the host of the Instance podcast.
Yeah, TomMerritt.com, editor-in-chief.
But Tom Merritt, is what that's what I'm focusing on.
Do you still do the incredible podcast of Amazing Awesomeness?
I certainly do. I do that at incrediblepodcast.com. I also do the Movielicious at themovielicious.com and Hypothetical Help at hypotheticalhelp.com.
None of these can be found at TomMerritt.com.
None of them currently, but we're adding in a new, as you see with the design, a lot of experiential stuff there.
As he brute forces my password, though, they'll all be up there.
Password with a 4 instead of an A.
He got it in the crazy, scary, what is it, the crazy rat?
Spearfishing.
Shady rat.
Spearfishing, that's what.
Shady rat, sorry.
Whatever
it's getting late here.
Shady, crazy, whatever it takes. That's it for us, folks. Thanks for watching or listening. If you made it this far, we really appreciate it. twit.tv/TNT is the place to find us on the web. You can also call us, 260-TNT-SHOW, or email us, TNT@twit.tv. We will see you tomorrow.
Whoa, she fell off her chair there.
Ta-da!
That was kind of on purpose. But you were ignoring me. I wanted your attention. Gosh, what does it take?
The more you
I'm
dance,
so
the
going
less
to tweet
I
to my
pay attention.
followers about this.
I need you to look at me.
Look at me.
Just notice me.